Hey there, welcome to Old Man Runner. In today's video, I'm going to talk about running with a knee injury. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I get injured, then about the effects of the injury, and finally, how I try and exercise with the injury. I'm making this video because I was originally going to make a video comparing this, the Nike Invincible Run Flyknit, with this, the Hoka Bondi X. And my focus was going to be on performance. That was plan A. But God gave me some lemons, so I'm going to have to make some lemonade in the form of this video. But I'm hoping to be not too bitter. I'm going to talk about what I do when I'm injured, the do's and don'ts. And then I'm going to try towards the end to see which shoe is easiest on my knee. About 3.5 weeks ago, I went out for a 2-hour run. Part of my long training for a marathon, longer on Sunday. And about 30 minutes in, I felt this wasn't going well. I felt a bit of knee pain, and sensibly, for once, I decided that I'd cut it short and I'd get a train back or a bus back or a cab back. But unfortunately, I'd forgotten to bring a mask. There's still COVID restrictions. So I decided I'd have to run back gently, and about 20 yards away from the house, I got a sharp pain in my left knee. I'm 58 years old. This is not my first injury. In 2018, I had an arthroscopy on my right knee. In 2020, I had a lot of Achilles pain that I somehow managed myself to work through. In 2021, I've got this frozen shoulder. It's unfreezing. I'd say it's about 80% there, but this is not my first injury, unfortunately. Here comes the disclaimer bit. I'm not a doctor. I have a sort of a science degree. I spend a lot of my time coloring in, and what works for me may not work for you. But with those provisos out of the way, we'll crack on. Some do's and don'ts. Well, the first thing you got to do is stop. Okay, it took me a while to stop, but stop. Okay, and assess. Is it a temporary niggle? Is it getting worse? Can you run your way through it? How can you make it better? All of that you need to do. Stop and assess. You've probably all heard the acronym RICE: rest, ice, compress, elevate. Well, I live in a small house with no freezer, so the ice was out of the question. I've tried that instant stuff you can get at the pharmacy. It's useless. I didn't have anything to compress my knee with. I have lots of compression socks, but nothing for the knee. But I did elevate. So that's what I did initially. Of course, there's the pain. Lots of it. The first day, my legs pretty much locked up. I took some ibuprofen, elevated it. On a 1 to 10, I'd say it was about 7. At night, I noticed the pain was much more severe. But yeah, day 1 was pretty tricky. Day 2, I got down to the beach and could hobble along, Luckily enough the car is automatic, so it was easy enough to drive because of my left foot. And on the following weekend, I was to go to Cork, which I did. Spent 2 hours in the car, and my left leg was in pain all the way down. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was about an 8. It was horrendous. What I discovered was that by moving, not resting, but by actually, rest initially, but as soon as I started to move, things felt much better. I had no pain walking, get out of the car and walk. This was after about 6-7 days. And my joints freed up. I read a lot about RICE, the rest, ice, compress, and elevate on the internet. Most of it's debunked. I'll put some links down below to some academic papers. But what I found was that moving was the real thing I needed to do. I didn't have the ice. I've read it, maybe a placebo. I mildly took ibuprofen. I didn't want to get addicted to ibuprofen, and I used it sparingly. But movement, that was the thing that started the process of recovery. The cliche of walk before you can run is, like many cliches, true. So I started to walk initially, very, very short steps around the place. In week 2, I was up to 10,000 steps a day. After week 1, I went away on this weekend to a hotel, and I tried swimming, but my frozen shoulder means I can't swim in the deep end. I'll sink. So I had to. So I was paddling around the shallow end, trying to do some running, stationary running in the water. But there's still COVID restrictions here, and actually it was tricky in a hotel swimming pool. If you have access to a swimming pool and less COVID restrictions, it's great. It's a great form of easing your way back into running, getting the motion going without any weight bearing. What I found worked fantastically was indoor cycling in the hotel gym or the gymnasium nearby. By day 6, it was my first day trying it. I did 30 minutes of cycling. Day 7, I did an hour. And it felt great, and got off the bike afterwards, no bother, to drive back to Dublin to find my leg in severe pain as soon as I didn't move it. The biggest thing I found happening was what I call the injury paradox, where on the one level, you're trying to rest, but you know that you want to run a marathon. So you've got this fear that you're losing fitness, and all the time you want to be building up strength in your knee, and somewhere in the middle here there's a sweet spot. And trying to find that sweet spot is the nirvana of this exercise, the holy grail. That's where you got to try and go. So to hit this sweet spot, I decided to do the same pattern of exercise that I usually do in my runs. I would go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday, and I would use the indoor bicycle. Now what you find is that you start to use other muscles, your butt for starters, because you're sitting down a lot. And so different things start to hurt a little bit better. So I also tried the elliptical, and I found that was pretty good. I could use both of those, mix and match, and get on and do an hour and a half on either of them, or combined. And that actually keeping that regular exercise routine was really going to help. I also had to be really careful about my diet and checking my weight, because obviously if you're doing less exercise, the bike, you might get some aerobic, but you'll lose less calories, as we tried out last year in one of the videos. But I kept a really close eye on the diet and weight. The Huel helped, and I tested a few weeks ago. And as I stand here before you, I'm lighter than when I got injured, surprisingly. So you start to figure things out. You're getting a little bit more aerobically fit, or you're maintaining it. I tried a couple of runs around the block just to see how I was, and not good was the short answer. You know, I could feel the knee pain. So I tried that for a while, and that only gets you so far. You can exercise all the body parts you want, but you've really got to exercise these. So I would watch and listen to what Bob and Brad, the most famous physical therapists on the internet, had to say. And they're really good. I recommend them to everybody. But after a while, you've got to go and see an actual physiotherapist. And I went to see Fergal in the Ranelagh Physio Clinic here in Dublin, who's been fantastic with my shoulder. And I went to see Fergal, see what he thought. And he got me to do a bit of basic mobility exercises, so he could see what range I had, gave me some things to do and work on, and said that within a week I should be able to go for a small run and come back and see him, which I did. And the great thing that I got was a bit of confidence that somebody other than me was saying in relation to my actual knee and my actual running, I could probably start to gently ease into it. He also said, when I went back the second time, to work on the hamstrings and the quads to help the knee, but that the calves were okay. It's 3.5 weeks on and I can run without pain, but I have pain at night, and I know there's something that isn't going to run its way out going on in my left knee. So I'm going to have to go and see a surgeon. I've got an MRI booked, and I'm going to see Mr. Ray Moran in the Sanctuary Sports Clinic. He did a wonderful job on the arthroscopy on my right knee, and it may be, my guess is I need an arthroscopy on the left knee, but what do I know? I don't know, but he will. The big thing, I suppose, in all of this is you need to reframe your goals. You need to stop, assess, and reframe. Right now, I'm just happy to run. I'm supposed to be running a marathon in 5 weeks. Will I? Or maybe 5 to 6 weeks. Will I? Okay, who knows? I mean, I really genuinely don't know. I'm hoping to run it. I had planned to, I thought, well, my original goal was, of course, I'm going to finish. Now I'm not even sure I get to the start line. So forget all that. You've got to reframe it. There's also a half marathon on the same day, and there's a 10K and there's a 5K. And who knows? I might end up doing one of those. So yeah, reframing is important. And with the reframing comes reassessing, like, what am I going to run in? So we've come right back to the shoes. Last year, when I had my Achilles injury, I seemed to manage to run through it myself. But one of the things I did was I tried all the different shoes I had to see which one gave me the least pain. And to my huge surprise, my Hoka Bondi X was the one that gave me the least pain. And I had expected it was one of the softer shoes. It turned out not to be. I think it was something, and I've said this before on the channel, something to do with the spring in the shoe really, really helped. So I decided that seems like a few more shoes. I take all 22 pairs of shoes down to the Phoenix Park where it's really cold, and I'd run in all of them over a brief period just to see what would happen and make a little video of it. Usually I put a little running video at the start, but it's kind of coming towards the end. So you can see how many shoes you can spot. I ran them in the order. There's links in the description to every shoe and the videos I made of them. There's a couple missing which you might be able to spot. And then for the music, well, what else? I chose the music of pain. There's only one. Country music. Let's go for a run, see the shoes in action. I hope you enjoyed my run in the Phoenix Park. It was really freezing. It was really, really cold. It was about 4 or 5 degrees centigrade, 38 Fahrenheit, something like that, with wind chill. I was wrong about the type of music. There's actually 2 types. There's country and there's Western. I didn't get too many surprises when I tried out all the shoes over a limited run, but I did get some. The Craft CTM Carbon Ultra was really smooth to run in, very nice ride. The only thing was it has a high stack height and it's quite narrow, and from talking to Fergal, that twisting motion for me is what's causing a lot of the pain in my knee, and I was nervous, or I am nervous about running on this if I have to go around twists and turns, and I didn't want to run on grass or on trails, because during the year twice I tripped over roots, once running in the Phoenix Park just trying to mind my own business but not paying too much attention, and once when I was running over Bray Head, or Greystones to Bray, and you can see that in the video. So I tripped over some tree roots, so I'm nervous about running those. The other shoe that was a real surprise, this was beautiful to run in, really, really smooth. But again, I'm going to save this for when my knee's a bit better on mountain trails, because I don't want to get any surprises when I'm out in a run. I enjoyed the ride in the Hoka Carbon X too. And so at the end of the video, you can see I took out of my retirement my Carbon X SPE, and it was really nice to run in. And then I double checked both of these by running around the block the other day, and these are fantastic. The positioning of the plate is so much better for me. These are quite cheap, and then certainly the Carbon X, which is the same plate, in the Black Friday Hoka deal. So yeah, this is a great shoe. That left the obvious 2 shoes. I ended up right back with my self-fulfilling prophecy, back to the same 2 shoes, the Nike Invincible Run Flyknit and a Hoka Bondi X. They're both great shoes. I'm probably going to alternate them. This is my first week back. I'm just going to go again my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably about an hour each, and then Saturday, and a long run from an hour and a half on Sunday. And I'm just going to use these 2. I'm not going to try any strides. I'm not going to try any tempos. I'm just trying to increase my mileage and increase the time that I get to run. I didn't expect to be making this video, but I planned to do the performance on the 2 shoes, but hey, neither of them are lemons. The performance testing for these 2 shoes will have to wait for another day. At the moment, I'm just running in them. With a bit of luck, who knows, I might actually get to run the marathon in 5 to 6 weeks. I probably won't be running in one of the super shoes unless I magically get better. I don't see that happening. What I do see is running in one of these. And the one I'm going to run in the marathon is most likely this, the Bondi X. I think the carbon plate will make just that bit of a difference in the long run. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, it'd be great if you hit the like button. There's lots of stuff and links to every video on all those shoes down below, and I'll happily answer any questions in the comments, and you might have great suggestions about what I should really be doing. There'll be a big blue subscribe button popping up there, and some related videos there. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, just keep running along.